All right, welcome back to the SportsMax Zone. We continue with cricket of a regional nature. An unprecedented double forfeit by the Barbados Pride and Jamaica Scorpions brought a disappointing end to the Cricket West Indies CWI Super50 Cup. Now, the final scheduled to start at 12 p.m., that's 1 p.m. in the Eastern Caribbean at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy on Saturday, was severely affected by rain. Match referee Rion King and the umpiring team concluded after inspection that play could proceed at the latest 6:17 p.m. ECT with a toss set for 6 p.m. Well, both teams were notified, but according to a Cricket West Indies release, both teams failed to show. This is what it said. Despite assurances from the umpires and match referee that the conditions were safe for play, both captains failed to be present for the toss, allowing time to elapse past the latest starting point. As a result, both teams failed to take the field, effectively refusing to play. This resulted in a double forfeit with no champion being declared. Well, to better help us understand the dramatic turn of events that led to the forfeiture of the Super50 Cup, we have invited Cricket West Indies Director of Cricket, Miles Bascom. Miles, welcome to the SportsMax Zone. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that you're coming on the show to talk about this. The last time you came, I think we were discussing positive things and the advancement of cricket, where Cricket West Indies is concerned. So, from your understanding, what really happened? Why didn't the captains come to take the toss?
Well, I can only go on what has been reported through the match officials. As you mentioned, there was a lot of rain. The ground staff worked tirelessly, tried their best to get the facility in a condition that would be deemed safe for play. At around 5:43, the match officials did agree that the conditions were safe and proceeded to inform the captains. As you mentioned, the latest start time would have been 6:17, which was the time proposed by the match officials, and the toss set to take place at 6 p.m. And the captains did not show for the toss.
But Miles, this is not a good look, because the fact that not one captain didn't show, both captains didn't show, we can only sit here and assume that a conversation took place and both captains decided that, either one, the conditions were not fit for play. They would have to consult with their coaches and everything, because, as I said, it's not like I'm the skipper and I'm saying, well, I'm not showing up for my team because I don't feel okay. It's Ricardo and I not showing up for our teams.
Yes, well, I am not privy to those discussions, but what is clear in the laws of the game, the match officials are the sole arbiters in terms of conditions, anything to do with ground and whether the conditions are safe for play. That determination is made solely by the match officials. So based on the laws, the process thereafter is pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Well, Miles, for our viewers who are tuned in, can you tell us a bit about the financial implications when both captains don't show?
Well, in terms of what goes into hosting a game, we know that it's quite substantial. We keep teams in accommodation, and of course the cost of ground rental, and quite a lot of things have to be in place to host a game at that level. I mean, these games are televised, so there are also production costs involved. So it's very disappointing. I thought that the tournament was really starting to get to a point where we can see some very visible improvements. The scores in the semifinals were quite heartening.
Yeah.
It really was shaping up to be an exciting contest, and like many other fans and supporters, I'm also disappointed that we could not see that culminate properly.
Yeah, even me, because, there were so many brilliant moments. We discuss it on the show day after day, so many players stepping up. I mean, even my team, Red Force, were defeated, and it was done in style, right? It was done in so much style. So I was eager now to see, how Jamaica and Barbados would go on. It's like those Netflix series where you just left hanging and now you don't really know. But I have to ask you, though, as an official now, belonging in this capacity with Cricket West Indies, is something going to be done so that moving forward, these things don't repeat itself?
Well, I mean, as you said earlier, and as the release also said, it's quite unprecedented. But as I mentioned, the laws are quite clear. The process from this point is pretty straightforward in accordance with the laws, and I think that we'll see how that process goes, and we'll make the decisions from there.
Yeah,
I don't know what can be put in place, in terms of. I don't know that there is any remedy, that anything that will prevent captains who refuse to turn up for the toss. The laws of the game have already prescribed who has authority in terms of making those decisions, and that is still the law.
Yeah, well, first of all, Mr. Bascom, I just want to say credit to Cricket West Indies for responding quickly to this situation and clarifying that no champion had been crowned, because I think had that not been done, then so many individuals would have been left thinking that the title was to be shared. So that was really good on the part of Cricket West Indies. I do want to get clarification on a number of issues, though, one of them being whether Cricket West Indies will launch any further investigation into this matter, or as far as Cricket West Indies is concerned, this is where it ends.
So, as I mentioned, there is a clear process. So there was an infringement of the code of conduct, and as far as I'm aware, the match referee has raised charges against both captains. So those will have to be answered to. The captains will decide whether they would accept those charges and the penalties proposed, or whether they are going to dispute those charges. And then, as I said, the process is pretty much set out that the matter will be heard by the disciplinary committee, and then the disciplinary committee will rule on the matter finally.
Given the unprecedented nature of this situation, is there any possibility that charges could extend to coaching and management staff?
It would take some investigation to determine what their roles were. As it stands now, it is pretty clear, and the laws of the game set out that the umpires communicate with the captains. The captains are the ones who come to take the toss. And as far as the facts of the matter as we have them now, it only pretty much implicates the captain, which is pretty standard in the game of cricket, that the captains bear the brunt of any penalty that is imposed on the team.
And fair enough, but it takes me back to my previous question. Will there be any further investigation on the part of Cricket West Indies? Because we're not talking about a normal situation here. This is unprecedented for two teams, for two captains to say, we will not turn up for the toss. We will not play on. We, at this stage, do not know why. Isn't it important that Cricket West Indies, even if the process is followed, the rules are followed, the captains are sanctioned as per the rules, isn't it important that from a Cricket West Indies standpoint, there is a clear understanding of why this happened?
Yes, there is. It is important for us to get a full understanding, which we expect if this matter proceeds to the disciplinary committee. We expect that quite a lot of what actually transpired will be ventilated there. We will write to the franchises / territorial boards expressing our disappointment, and we would hope that they would also do their level best to get to the bottom of the circumstances that led to that unfortunate incident. So as information comes to hand, then we will make decisions as we are so informed.
Yeah. What does this mean for the prize monies?
So all prize monies, match fees, anything related to player payment are protected in a player payment pool that is pretty much guarded between CWI and WEPA. So the prize monies and the match fees for the final will remain in that pool, and we, along with WEPA, we will decide how we go forward in terms of those fees.
Meaning that there is a possibility that the two teams that made the final will not benefit from what the champions amount and the runners-up amount were supposed to be?
Well, as it stands, that is the case. We do not have any framework to award team. We have a framework to award a winner and a second place. And because the teams did not participate in the game, we do not have a winner or a second place. As such, we cannot pay out prize monies.
So these two teams, what would they then be paid out? Because they did go through the remainder of the tournament. Does that mean you go back and pay out the sums at the semi-final level?
Well, as I mentioned, in terms of our framework, the prize money payout framework is such that the losing semi-finalists get $25,000 and we do have two losing semi-finalists who will be paid. And then the rest of the prize money, it's $100,000 for the winner in first place and $50,000 for the runner-up. So we had a final, umpires were in place, match referee was in place to toss, teams didn't turn up, so we do not have a conclusive result. We do not have a winner or a second place. And as such, we cannot pay out prize monies to those positions.
Okay, I think I hear you, but I just want to be absolutely sure. Is it that you will not be paying out, or at this stage you are not sure because of the unprecedented nature of this situation?
Well, at this stage, we cannot pay out because we do not have a first or a second place. Mm-hmm. Whether any determination will be made contrary to that will have to be done based on a framework that we have not discussed yet or have not been proposed to us.
Yeah, and one quick one before we run out of time, because what a lot of individuals have been asking, and this is now aside from the captains deciding not to turn up for the toss, but given the amount of rain there was on Saturday, and everybody is asking, why didn't this tournament have a reserve day for the final?
Well, reserve days come at a pretty steep cost. So that is an additional day of accommodation that you may not use. And there is no guarantee that even if you had a reserve day that you would have gotten cricket on that reserve day as well, because there is no control in the weather. There is nothing that says if it rains today, then it doesn't rain tomorrow. And then you still have the case of the umpires having to go through the process. So once you have the game carded for a certain day, they still have to go through the assessment and go through the entire period until there is not sufficient time and the match has to be abandoned, which wasn't the case. So even if there was a reserve day for this tournament, we would still get to a point at 5:45 when the umpires felt that the conditions were suitable for playing. And given that they could have gotten in 20 overs, then that would have been the first port of call as opposed to trying to play the game on a reserve day.
Yeah, Miles Bascom, thank you so much for joining us on the SportsMax Zone. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate you being as candid as you can be given the circumstances and given the fact that a lot of information is still to come to Cricket West Indies and I guess to everyone involved in this situation. Unfortunate ending, but it was a pretty good tournament. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mariah, wow. I guess we just go to break. We'll be following this story, though. So much more to come out of this, and I suspect we'll be trying really hard to get to the teams, the Pride and the Scorpions, to figure out what really happened.
Yeah,
on Saturday.
We won't be like that Netflix series I was talking about. We're going to give you more info. Break time.